Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about using one's emotions. Whether that's in music or in life. How should one use their emotions and not be used by them necessarily?
What do you mean by an emotion?
A feeling that comes up within oneself, whether it's sometimes people can be overcome by sadness, by joy, by pain. These different feelings that we experience in the body, physically, mentally, on all levels.
You mean what passes through us of itself?
Sure.
Right, from birth, right, through the lifeline, right. And sometimes your emotions or your so-called perception of an emotion is valid, but it may not be true that it's yours. It may be true that it's somebody else's. Right. So, not that we need to spend time IDing emotions and where they come from, but you let them flow unless you're here to do something very specific with emotions. Now, you've heard me say to many musicians that I play from an emotional advantage. And that's hard to put into words beyond the point. That's how I play. See? And it seems that the urge to play music, the impulse to play and the emotional impulse are almost identical. So it's always about a feeling there. And so it's easy for me to work from that place, but that's a result of my karma, so to speak. It might be easier for other people to do that too, but how they relate to it is, relative to the individual. Whenever I see something of, let's say, powerful image or sound, I feel, not just that, but I feel something in relation to that, which is the basis for how I play. So everybody hears the same thing, but not everybody knows how to respond to it in the same way. See, in other words, everybody's response is everybody's response. So I have my own approach to feelings and emotions, and then music. Which you're supposed to respond to it. Sound for sound, or feeling for feeling, beat for beat, harmony for harmony, whatever. Right. So it works for me in my musical process. I can't say it's an emotional thing, but the emotions play powerfully in my case. So I don't think music. I do not ordinarily read the music as such, except what I'm feeling psychically. So it may be a very limited approach, but it certainly works for what I do and with the musicians I play with.
Yeah, sure. So then, feeling on the path of mastery, does somebody feeling? Having feelings coming, being on the path of more like self-mastery scope. How should one deal with those?
There's a feeling of existing, right? A feeling of living. So we are living in the feeling of living. Right now, you feel your body, you feel the environment, you feel the situation. We feel our breaths, we feel our functions. So we're always feeling, right? Sometimes that shows up as an emotion. You mentioned earlier, emotions of sadness, and these I would call waves. Then, they're emotions, but they're waves of feeling, and they tend to predominate when they arise. They're so powerful, they are unmistakable, and they're having their ways. They need to be expressed. See, it's not like the emotion comes up and says, "You like me or not?" It's not a process of interacting with it at a superficial level. If it's an emotion, it's big, it's strong, it's powerful, or it should be, and that's relative, of course. But yeah, so we need to observe what is arising because what arises is not necessarily always ours, and perhaps always in relation to something else. I mean, you feel an emotion, that's an effect of what? That emotion then causes you to do what? See, so then it's part of a chain, a karmic chain. See, and so for everyone, it's different. Karmic.
So then, the notion might be relevant of playing to purify emotions. I know that's been a topic we've talked about before. So something like frustration, like say I'm working on my instrument but getting frustrated.
We're really talking about musical therapy. Music as a way to heal oneself, right? So we have to reach deeper and not allow the conversation of music, quote unquote music, mean music in an ordinary sense that people are listening to, the radio or television or a band playing particularly, right? See, so when we're talking about yoga, sound yoga, which we weren't talking about until this moment, then there are ways to use sound to purify you of all that ails you, so to speak. Because we are really sound beings, and we go back to an ancient Hindu term of Nada Brahma, God is sound, but we don't just mean ear sound, we could mean heart sound. And that's not saying emotion, necessarily. See, so there are different levels and dimensions of sound that we need to be aware of, and that's what yoga practice ultimately provides people by learning how to navigate your impulses when you're sitting, your say biologic drives, eating, drinking, desiring, urges to do this, urges to do that, all of these movements within us, so urges, impulses, feelings, thoughts, they're all part of the same ocean of possibility. Not necessarily always useful, not necessarily showing up at the best times, right? Depending. Sometimes they're directly related to something that happens, something powerful that happens, good and bad. They're both the same, right? Powerful events, smiling, crying. So we watch that, but that's not who we are, but that's a cause or an effect of something. When we're sitting without anything going on, then that's more who we are, as stillness and silence, right? And peaceful being, as now. And from that vantage point of quietness, we can observe our stuff that arises from the blood, from our neighbors, from our memories, from whatever's going on, and see what of that we need. What of that we are victimized by? What of that we are made victorious by? So these are fuels of various levels of consciousness. Thought fuel, emotional fuel, feeling fuel, mind fuel, right? Astral energy fuel, subtle body fuel, spirit fuel. Then there's spiritual fuel, but there's spirit fuel, which is a lesser type having to do with more transient phenomenon. But maybe the spirits, ghost fuel. All of these are part of the matrix of potential that we have that creates feeling, or giving us an opportunity to respond, which sometimes means feeling, sometimes it means reaction, sometimes it means a thought form. Sometimes when we are responding, we have to go to our instrument. And it means, playing something. A feeling, work it out. So it could mean everything, and then it could mean nothing, depending on the individual.